Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I'm playing a brand new Tier 10 tank in my arsenal. It is the Tier 10 Soviet light tank, the T100LT, and I just had the pleasure of purchasing this vehicle on Tuesday, and a massive thank you to everyone who did come along on Tuesday to check out me christening this tank. And you know what? It hasn't really been a letdown so far. I might be bold in saying this, but I think this is the best scout tank in the game. And I'm not saying it's the best light tank, I'm not saying it's the best Tier 10 tank, I just think it's the most proficient scout in the game. And for a variety of reasons. Well, firstly, let me also highlight that there aren't that many Tier 10 tanks left in the game for me, so I was very excited to play this. And the fact that this was my second ever game in the T100LT, and I've got on, in my opinion, the best light tank map in the game, which is Prokhorovka, or should we say the best scouting map in the game, Prokhorovka. I was quite nervous here. I was hoping for an ace tanker. I didn't quite manage to get one in my first game. Hoping to pick one up here on Prokhorovka. We'll have to see in the post-game stats if that will be the case. Now, the T100LT, why do I think it is the best scout in the game? Well, it's certainly not the best damage dealer, that's for sure. Let me talk about the things that are, should we say, awkward with this vehicle. And talking about awkward, you might be painfully disappointed to see that I am going to be camping in this bush for about another 2 to 3 minutes, but during that time I'm going to focus on the statistics of the tank, and then I'm going to get very bored myself and decide to unleash some view range. I guess unleash view range? Can you unleash view range? Well, I guess you can. If any tank can unleash view range, it's going to be the T100LT. So let me talk about the statistics of this vehicle. What's good about it? What's bad about it? Well, firstly, what's terrible about it is the gun. The standard penetration on this tank is 230 with its standard APCR rounds. And bizarrely enough, its premium rounds are armor piercing, and they've only got 248 millimeters of penetration. That's not a big step up. 18 millimeters on a tier 10 tank. Another thing that's really disappointing about the premium rounds on this vehicle is they've got terrible shell velocity. We are talking about, I think it's 780, just 700 meters a second shell velocity on those AP rounds, the premium shells. Of course, your APCR are more like 1,200. But the issue is that, and this is something that I found out recently about the tier 10 light tanks, is that Wargaming, for some bizarre reason, decided to just give all of the tier 10 light tanks terrible penetration drop-off on their standard rounds over distances. And so that 230 millimeters of standard APCR penetration is probably going to dip down to about 180 at 500 meters. That's really not going to be getting through many vehicles, right? So of course, the premium armor-piercing rounds don't lose quite so much penetration over long range, but the shell velocity is awkward. And the T100LT, unlike the other 4 top-tier light tanks in the game, doesn't get 280 millimeters of heat penetration, which means this vehicle can seriously struggle to be able to engage effectively. Also, the DPM of this tank, while it's not bad, is not great. And I finally, you can see, got bored, decided to kill that T54. I'm thinking about going back up, but as I'm spotted, I'm going to now show you why the T100LT is probably the best scout tank in the game. And firstly, look how ludicrously fast this tank is. And that's because it has the best specific power in the game. We are talking about 48 horsepower per ton. This thing shifts, and its ground resistances aren't even that bad. And its track traverse is incredible as well. It's got the best track traverse of any of the light tanks. And so look how I'm able to duck and weave even though I'm going faster than many of the other tier 10 light tanks' top speed limits. This, in fact, is, I believe, the third or fourth, or shall I say joint third or fourth, fastest tank in the game as well. There's only one other faster vehicle at tier 10, and that is going to be the Rheinmetall Panzerwagen at top speed limit of 75. However, this vehicle can go at 72, not too far behind, and it can also go at 25 backwards. And boy, this is like night and day difference between sitting up in that bush doing passive camping that I guess any light tank can do, especially if they've got binoculars if they get into that location, and something that probably the T100LT is the master of, and that is the active scout. It's so low profile. Just look at the profile of this vehicle. It's a very hard tank for them to hit, even if you are spotted. And when you combine this with ludicrous speed, ludicrous power to weight ratio, and the traverse speed to duck and dive through these undulations, on Prokhorovka, and we are really starting to let rip. We're up to 4,200 spotting, and I've never been so confident in just sitting out in the open. Well, it's not like I'm just sitting. I'm definitely not sitting. If this was my sitting speed, I'm probably on a motorized chair or something. No, we are going ludicrously fast out in the open, and the first shell does manage to hit us from the T10. But even if a shell does hit you in this tank, you still got some decent armor as well. We are talking about, I believe it's 90 millimeters at the front of the tank, 180 on the front of the turret, and even the side armor is 40. Now, of course, 40 isn't going to bounce many shells on the enemy team, because you're going to get overmatched by 121 millimeter caliber guns, of which pretty much all of the remaining vehicles do have, apart from the Conqueror, the Patton, and the T-54. But against the Patton, the Conqueror, and the T-54, you are going to be able to ricochet them. There's another thing that this tank is ludicrous at, and that is firing on the move. This has the best dispersion values when moving at 0.06 that I think I've seen. Oh gosh, stationary tiger there bumping into. Got to look where I'm going and not look at what I'm trying to spot. And so that means that I'm not even using vertical stabilizers on this tank. My loadout currently is a rammer, vents, and coated optics. And that's because, unfortunately, the only thing that really holds this back from being a scout of godlike proportions is the view range. 390? That's lower than pretty much all of the other tier 10 heavies. It's rather disappointing. 390 is the lowest of the tier 10 light tanks, and there are many lower tiered light tanks that have better view range than the T100 LT. And nevertheless, 390, when you pump it up with things like situational awareness, recon, brothers in arms if you're using an improved combat ration, and of course using the double equipment combo by sacrificing the vents, or alternatively sacrificing your gun rammer, but I wouldn't want to do that because I don't like losing 10% of my DPM. To be able to gain the vents and the coated optics can bump it up to about the 470, 480 mark, which is what I'm sitting at here. And that will allow you to still spot at long range. And there we go, our second ever game in the T100 LT. And bam, we're already sitting at 10k spotting. Oh man, am I happy that I didn't camp in that bush any longer. Now, I guess camping in that bush, it would be the thing to do in your vehicles that didn't have quite as good camera ratings, weren't as low profile, and weren't as ludicrously fast as your T100 LT. Will we finish off? Oh, we don't quite get the tier 10 self-propelled gun. But this tank also has another specialty, and that is its camera rating. We're talking about 42% camera rating when moving in this tank, if you do have a fully skilled out crew. And that of course means that you can make bold, aggressive plays. You don't have to be the passive scout, you can be the active scout. In fact, this is the closest thing to playing what I remember the T-52 used to be. And wow, that hasn't been in the game for a long time, at least on the PC version. I wonder if it's on console or on any of the other servers. I have to take a look. And so right now we're playing against the Rheinmetall Panzerwagen on the enemy team, which is the best, shall I say, sniping light tank. But of course, look how ludicrously fast we are. We've got some armor on the side of our vehicle. We absorb the shot from him. We don't take any damage. We quickly repair our tracks, and we manage to get in lightning fast into position, this D4 location on Karelia Assault. And I think this is the best location that you could ever get into for any of your light and medium tanks. In fact, I've probably pulled off higher experience games in this location, and conversely onto the other side, if you do manage to get here, than any other map, maybe, arguably. I guess Siegfried Line encounter can be also quite good sometimes if you do manage to spot through the middle. And also Sand River Assault, if you do manage to spot through the middle, that can be rather good as well. Oh, just to clarify, one thing that also sucks about this tank is the accuracy. We are talking about, is it 0.44 or 0.46? Let me just clarify that. Yeah, it is 0.46 accuracy, guys. So don't expect to be sniping at the cupola of too many Foshes. Nevertheless, 500 damage dealt here, and also 2,000 spotting in the first minute and a half of this game. And there we go, that should go to T50. He is just hanging on by the skin of his teeth behind that rock. And what I'm doing right now is I'm just trying to poke up and look at this whole ridgeline of tank destroyers that we have behind us. That is a beautiful scenario. And that means that when you are in your light tanks, if you do manage to get into this location, that you've got all of those guns just going for you. There's an artillery trying to... Oh, he slams a shell over the rock at us. I get damaged, but I put my crew back into effect. And will we be able to finish him off? No, the artillery doesn't quite manage to take him down. So, T100LT as well. Not the best gun depression in the world. How much are we talking about? 5 degrees here? Yeah, 5 degrees. I was hoping it was 6 for a second. That means you've got to be very careful, but how could it be 6 degrees on a turret that looks like a pancake has been just splattered on top of the hull? Oh my word, that was 1,500 spotting against that Panther 2. Ouch. And then we do a little bit more against the Scorpion as well, leaving him on 95. And oh, for goodness sake, that artillery hits me once again over the rock. What a pesky, pesky Tier 8 British self-propelled gun that is. However, step right up. Another Tier 8 tank pushes forwards and we get the Patriot completely taken care of. Now we're up to 6,500 spotting, 871 damage. In the first 3 minutes of this game, yeah, not too bad. But we've still got a lot more that we're going to have to do if we want to take this round down. So I'm poking out here expecting to see the Scorpion. There he is. There you go. What a snapshot. You just don't even have to aim in this tank. You really don't, even without the vertical stabilizers. You've got 0.46 accuracy anyway, so it doesn't really matter. You're kind of just hitting and hoping. Oh, talking about hitting and hoping, I really hope this one goes in. Yes! Shut down that sneaky self-propelled gun that's been lobbing bombs on me. I guess he thought he was really safe up there. Not quite safe enough. As we do take him out, I'm very happy about that because that means that I feel all the more safer in this location. Now you might be wondering, well, is this location just completely overpowered? Well, yes, it kind of is, unless they bum rush you. Just a light tank or a medium tank can just play around with its opponents here. Of course, if the artillery don't focus you. But let me just show you one of the counters for this location. And this is one of my favorite things to do, because obviously I like to be able to know how I'm going to get countered, but also how players are going to counter me. And this is my favorite location for taking out somebody who's in my spot down there in the T100LT. From here you can get all the shots at them, and even though you can see the enemies on my screen here, they are outside the render distance, and so they won't be able to engage you effectively. That Rheinmetall Panzerwagen tries to sneak his way up. Will we finish him off? Oh no, the shell just going up to the top left. And that Skoda T50, who has been hiding behind that rock the entire game, comes out and puts a shot into me. And that's rather alarming because that means I am now down to 252 hit points, and so I'm a one-shot for pretty much the entirety of the enemy team. Nevertheless, at 8k combined, I just want to push it a little bit higher. Come on, if I can pick up a few more kills, maybe this will be our ace tanker in the vehicle. Oh, well, I'm not going to spoil it. Maybe we got it on Prokhorovka. You're just going to have to wait. Or maybe I don't even get the ace tanker in this game. We'll have to see in the post-game stats. Nevertheless, look at where that Rheinmetall Panzerwagen went. Exactly to where I thought he was going to be. The pure counter for this location. And so I'm getting out of there. And so now what I want to do is try and flank around. Shall I try and go up to the northeast? Shall I try and approach from the southwest? And that was actually my plan. What I'm going to do is effectively run away from the enemy base, because then I can use my camo rating to hopefully be able to flank around and approach the enemy's camp from the west, because I think that is going to be my best chance to be able to enter. Now, of course, if I just went straight along here, I ran the risk of getting spotted. I feel that it was safer to go all the way around the back here and then do a loop in, because, well, really with 42% camo rating when moving, these enemies are not going to be able to spot me. And I might even be able to pull off some flanking shots from this location. So my initial impressions of this tank, that while it might not be the best tier 10 tank, and I still think that mediums are going to be far more powerful in a variety of situations, there is no doubt that this is a very, very powerful scout. And there you go, that's a good feeling. Goodbye Skoda T50. Look at just the aim time on this tank is absolutely ludicrous. I guess it's because the accuracy is so bad. And if your accuracy is so bad, then the tank is never going to fully aim, I guess, right? Be an interesting way to try and figure out how aim time and bad accuracy combine in World of Tanks. If your aim time is really good, but should we say, if your accuracy is really bad and your aim time is okay, does that mean it's going to take less time to aim than if your accuracy is really good and your aim time is really good as well? Well, I'll have to take a look at that. Anyway, we flanked the FE215B183. I was kind of taking a 50-50 as to where he would be. We popped one into the back of the Scorpion G. Just him and the Stritzwang 103B to take care of now. And I'm just hoping that maybe I can push my combined up towards that magical 10k mark again. We're sitting at 8.3. Will we finish off the Scorpion? Yeah, and also you can see the armor on this turret. It can work sometimes, right, guys? Or was that a bounce off the upper hull? I can't really see the ricochet on the turret. And hello there, Stritzwang 103B. We flank round to the side. We've picked up 4 kills, and good Knight, Swedish tank destroyer. We take his tracks off there, but it doesn't look like we get all the assistance from the damage dealt, unfortunately, so no extra. But nevertheless, we pick up the kill, and our damage total, we're at 9.5 combined that we saw. Not a bad round in the just over 7 minutes this game was. So our first game on Prokhorovka was not quite an ace tanker, although we do get the patrol duty for that 10,300 damage upon detection. And it looks like we did spotting to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of the enemy team. So that is above and beyond the call of duty for the patrol duty medal. We also make a very decent profit here because of course we weren't really firing very much, didn't fire any premium rounds, and we didn't take all that much damage. And next up on Karelia, did we get the ace? Drum roll, please. Yes, we did. It looks like we were playing the T100 LT for about an hour before we managed to pick up our ace tanker, and this was a decent one. We get a scout medal for spotting how much of the enemy team, 11 out of 15 players, a patrol duty medal for the 6,758 spotting. But the key as to why this was an ace is because we dealt more damage for ourselves and also those 5 kills, as we net 1,346 base experience points, whereas 10k spotting was less than 1,200. And remember, while spotting is going to net you 50% of the experience and the credits of the damage dealt, if you manage to deal that damage yourself, you're going to be getting 100%, and also kills do make aces. And in this round as well, 40k profit, not too bad. Nevertheless, a fast, frenetic game in the T100 LT, and I guess this was a bit of a whitewash, and I guess one of the factors there is that the top tier light tank on the enemy team, even though he was a very skilled and experienced player, didn't actually manage to do any damage here. But it is very tricky to be able to defend against an assault in a light tank on that map if somebody does dominate that D4 area. So the T100 LT initial impressions are that I really like this tank as a scout. And while it doesn't come close to competing with many of the other tier 10 light tanks with regards to combat capacity, and it's really a shadow of a medium tank. However, if you're looking for a pure scout tank and you find yourself in the right situation like these, I can tell you, this is one of the most fun tanks I've played in a while. But that's about it for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun making this one. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. And let me know in the comments down below what you think about the T100 LT. If you've got one yourself, have you seen them on the battlefield very much? Do you think they're as much of a pure scout bundle of fun as I've at least had in my first day of playing it? Or maybe you think that I just got really lucky and the magic of this tank is going to wear off really quickly. Oh, and also, just a quick announcement that tomorrow on Twitch, I'm going to be playing through the new Dishonored Death of the Outsider game. And so feel free to come along to that, as I don't replace my World of Tanks content, but just add more diversity on top of what I already do. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.